has a sweet little chorus titled Cares Chorus about giving our burdens, our cares, our worries to the Lord in our life. And so this is daily devotion, titled Do You Have Baggage? And it begins with a story that I want to share with you about my childhood. And I want to actually read this to you because I wrote it down. I don't want to miss any of the nuances to the story. But it's basically about me. I was about 8 years old, maybe in second grade, maybe I was 7. But my parents took a trip to Lake Superior with my family, and it's 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. And we were looking for a beautiful little stone that washes up on the shore of Lake Superior called an agate. And so we were there to collect those with the children, and it was a delightful time. So listen as I read this story to you. I remember when I was a little boy, about 7 or 8 years old, my parents took our family of 4 children camping to Lake Superior to look for a special type of rock called an agate. The agate rock was a beautiful rock that washed up on the shores of Lake Superior. The rocks were actually considered semi-precious gemstones, and they came in a variety of different colors. Most of the ones that we were looking for were a kind of a reddish maroon with white line streaks in the rocks. They looked very pretty for an 8-year-old boy, and I thought I was finding gold, and I was going to be rich, rich, rich when I got all of these semi-precious stones. Myself and my 2 brothers and my little sister were given a box to place our agate rocks in. And although they were difficult to find, I started picking up these agate rocks one by one and placing them into my box. I quickly caught the fever really bad and was frantically trying to fill my box with beautiful agate rocks. Although they're not really worth any money to my 8-year-old mind, I thought that each stone just had to be worth at least $100, and that I was going to go back and become rich beyond measure. My brothers and sisters wisely placed just a few rocks in their box and casually carried their box back to the campground to do other fun things, but not me. I was bound and determined to walk away rich. As an 8-year-old boy, I was going to help support the family financially when we cashed in all those agate rocks, and it was not long before I completely filled up my cardboard box with beautiful red and white lined agate rocks. As I looked around, my brothers and sisters were gone. I think my mom had said, just when you're done, walk back to the campground. And there I was, all alone with my huge box of heavy agate rocks. I suppose I probably had about 200 little rocks in my box. I could just barely pick up the box and start down the path for the long walk back to the campground. After about 10 steps on the beach to go home, I realized that this skinny little 8-year-old second grader wasn't going to be able to carry this big box anymore. At that point, I tried dragging the box. That made it even worse and harder. And I realized that I had a choice. I could either take a day or 2 to get my box back to the campground, or begin taking some of the rocks out of the box to lighten the load. Both options were just terrible for this small boy's point of view, and it was then that my parents realized that I was going to be a collector and somewhat of a pack rat as I was growing up. To lighten the load a bit, I decided to take a few handfuls of precious stones out of the box and drop them in the sand. I remember it just killed me to do that. I picked up the box of rocks and it was still pretty full. I could only walk about 25 yards before I could not carry it any farther. I tried putting some of the rocks in my pants pocket until they were full, yet I still had to take another couple handfuls of rocks out again to lighten the load. I literally cried letting them go, but it had to be done. I needed to get rid of that baggage. About every 100 yards or so, I took a couple handfuls of rocks out of the box until finally I was able to handle the weight to get back to the campsite. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Too much baggage can bog you down. It can slow you down. and even stop you if the baggage is much too heavy. If I was going to get where I was going, I had to let go of the heavy baggage that was slowing me down, even if that baggage seemed very precious to me. When our family got home with our beautiful semi-precious agate gemstones, I dreamed that I was going to go straight to the bank, deposit my fortune, and then turn in for a cool $1,000,000 or $2. This was also when my parents also realized that I was a huge daydreamer as a little boy. But that was not to be, and the rocks found a more humble resting place around our house. All the pretty Lake Superior agate rocks ended up at the base of our TV antenna tower at the back of our house. They did look pretty when it rained, and all during my growing up years until I graduated high school and went off to college, every time I went into the back of the house or the back porch, I could see those beautiful gemstones or those agates. I tell you that story because it's a story about how sometimes we carry around baggage that slows us down. Sometimes we don't want to let go of that baggage, but we must. Here is a list of some things that maybe can be heavy, emotional, or spiritual baggage in our lives that we carry around, but we won't let go. Guilt, regret, your inner critic inside of you criticizing you, anger inside of you, perhaps your past is some baggage that you're carrying around, fear, failure, fear of failure, negativity, expectations from our peers, our boss, our parents can be baggage that we need to let go of. Unforgiven sin by God, or maybe not being able to forgive yourself even though you know God has forgiven you. And finally, stress from all of the above. Emotional and spiritual baggage can slow you down in this life and not allow you to accomplish the goals that you have or be the person that God wants you to be. I want us to watch this short video titled The Mercy of God. It's about getting rid of baggage. Let's watch it together.
Life is a journey. We start out with enthusiasm and we're excited for what lies ahead. But the journey is never easy. It's filled with difficulty and struggle. As we navigate through our journey, we collect baggage. We try to hide our baggage and assure God that we can handle it. It's through our own shame that we add more and more weight. We tuck away our sin and continue our journey crushed by a new load of guilt. Soon, the burden of our sin becomes unbearable. But God's mercy is everlasting. No matter our failure, He loves us unconditionally. Christ died so that we could walk in a freedom that only He can bring. His mercy gives us the ability to lay down our burdens without fear of condemnation. When we walk in God's mercy, we are free.
That was an interesting video. They use the word journey to describe our life, which is, I think, a great way to help us understand our life, that it is a long journey. And along the way of our journey, sometimes we pick up baggage. And in the end, it slows us down. And sometimes it can stop us. We're not able to meet the goals that we want to meet or be the person that God would want us to be. It is true that through our shame, that we put more baggage in our lives that make our journey more difficult. Now, more importantly, we need to get rid of the baggage that is slowing us down in our journey. God can help us do that with God's mercy and forgiveness. How beautiful is that? In other words, cast your baggage to the Lord. There's a verse in 1 Peter 5:7 that says this. It's one of my favorite verses. It says, "Cast all your cares upon the Lord because he cares for you. And it's a wonderful way to say God wants us to be free from all these things that slow us down. Jesus also tells us that he will carry our burdens. In Matthew 11:28 through 30, it says this, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened." These are Jesus' words. "And I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your soul. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." That's God's mercy, folks, being poured out for us, that God wants to help us. Jesus is also telling us that it is all right to give your baggage and burdens to him. Jesus will allow us to lay those burdens at his feet, and then we are free people. That's good news, folks. And then the final passage that I want to share with you is from Isaiah 53. It says, "All we like sheep have gone astray, but God has laid upon him," meaning Jesus, "the iniquities of us all." God carries those burdens, those sins away through his son Jesus Christ. And so that's wonderful news, and that again is God's mercy. Now, in closing, I want to sing that song again, "I cast all my cares upon him," or God. And I want you to sing it with me if you know it, okay? I cast all my cares upon you. I lay all of my burdens down at your feet. And anytime I don't know what to do, I will cast all my cares upon you. Let's sing it together. I cast all my cares upon you. I lay all my burdens. I lay all of my burdens down at your feet. Down at your feet. And anytime I don't know what to do, I will cast all my cares upon you. May the Lord bless and keep you. Again, this is Pastor Bob Vale for the daily devotion for the LaPorte First United Methodist Church in LaPorte, Indiana. May the Lord bless and keep you. God bless.